All right. Well, we are here with Diane Franklin. Very excited to talk about your latest performance in Waking Nightmare because this is a truly disturbing experience. It feels like the writer director Brian Farmer is purposely trying to make it hard for the audience to get our bearings. You were just kind of off kilter a lot of it. So, what kind of script were you handed initially when asked to be a part of this film, and what made you decide to take the role?
That is such a good question. Okay, so first of all, I get the script and I love it. Okay, I really loved it. What I read. And this, by the way, was years ago. Like we did this film years ago. But the thing about it is that I think it transcends time. If you watch this film, first of all, it's super indie. It is not polished. It is the but I think that's what works for it. I think it really takes you off balance. And you said it exactly, which is what I think, is that it keeps the audience off balance. Even the credits, I loved the credits. It's super artistic with the backgrounds and the perspective of the main character. We see the world through her eyes. She is having she's Shelley Regner plays the lead, and she is having these dreams where she's sleepwalking, and so we see it through her eyes. So anyway, I really loved the script when I first got it, and I was really impressed that they wanted me to play this part because if you see Better Off Dead or Bill and Ted's or even Last American Virgin, even Amityville Part 2, I play more of a softer um good girl kind of person. You don't see um the wrath, the evilness. Although I will say this, I did a movie of the week called Summer Girl years ago, in the 80s. And I think it's the closest to it. And actually was the one that I was almost nominated for an Emmy, which I will say is it just goes to show that if the material is there, then the actor can show what they can do. So in this case, what was really nice is because it's an indie film, you have a little bit more freedom. And I took that freedom because I'd been acting for so long, and I was like, okay, I think I know what I can do with this part. And I thought I always want to surprise the audience, and I always want to do something that's challenging and one step further than anything I've done before. I want to move. I want to take chances. I like that. I think that's exciting. I think it's exciting for the audience, and it's exciting to me as a performer. So therein lies this movie. This story is about the girl, the main girl, but yet through that we learn that she is affecting those around her. She's a best friend who I think is a lovely character, the girl who plays the best friend. And I my character is affected by hers. And I think what's interesting about the focus of the film is you think it's just going to be about her, and you start seeing how her family is involved. And I think that's true of many people. Like this girl is a college student, and when when you're older, we think about parents involved when a person's a teen, but we don't think about them that it continues into the 20s. And it does. If you have a parent and family, it does with some people. And sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's not such a good thing. Parents get very involved in their kids, and in this case I am very involved and very protective of her, and is my husband also, which is also highly unusual. Sometimes it's one parent and not the other, but in this case we will surprise you. I think you can tell me from seeing the film, it's almost like an iconic moment in film history to see the both of us being that way. What do you tell me? Tell me what you
No,
think.
that was my experience 100% because I thought I knew what I was getting, right? I was like, okay, she's having nightmares. Okay, I see what's going on here. It's her story. And then all of a sudden it gets into your character, and you're like, oh, okay. So it's like this mundane, concerned mom. Oh, no, overly protective, overly. And so, yeah, so that was one of those things I was just like, this is wild. So, yeah, I'm
It's
sure.
wild.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people when they check it out, they're just gonna be like, "Okay, well, I didn't see that coming, and I'm gonna be, all the more on board." But I have to ask you this because obviously you have a history of horror, in your filmography. You talked about the Amityville sequel, you were in Terror Vision. That's just real wacky horror. You were even on an episode of Freddy's Nightmares, which I've been watching that recently. It's just a fun, wild
And
show.
and recently also Ted Bundy, American Boogeyman, and Amityville Murders. So yes, I've been doing a lot of horror, and I have some other ones coming out: Dark Room and The Dark Room and Pareidolia. So yes, a lot of horror. So go ahead,
Do you have a
continue.
chance then to interact a lot with the horror fan community? Are you going to conventions or do you hear from them in other ways?
Oh, that's a good question. I do go to horror conventions. I go to all kinds of conventions because I do all kinds of work. Um, so I've done comedy, Comic Cons and uh, celebrity ones, but horror conventions are so much fun. The people are so nice. I mean, if you have never gone to one, I'm telling you, you'd be surprised. People are just so nice. I see the horror community as being creative, fun. They just want to have fun, and they're also just artistic. It's an artistic play. And again, it's like almost like growing up, it's like Halloween doesn't have to stop on Halloween. You can make it happen anytime. But I also think that for me, what I like about horror, and people have asked me like, why are you doing all this horror? It's because that's where the roles are for me that are dramatic. I love comedy and I love doing all kinds of work. I mean, I'd really like to be able to do sci-fi. It would be really cool for somebody to make me into like some kind of a creature, and then I don't know, like just kind of fun. But or a commander of some sort. But I really do like horror because there's the drama, there's the emotion. And for my age, this is something that I really like. I mean, on a TV show, it might be a lot of exposition. And it's fine. That's great. And I think that's awesome. Being on a show would be wonderful. I'm starting to do something next in a couple of weeks. I'm working on something that is more of a show. But the thing with horror is that it brings out the psychology, the background, I like the depth of it.
Yeah. That's great. No, that's wonderful. And I do have to ask though, you brought it up earlier, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, just a fantastic film, one of my favorites. And I lived in Phoenix, Arizona for a decade, and during that time I visited all the filming locations. So I went to the mall, the water park, the bowling alley.
Wow.
But as I understand it, there was a deleted scene at the end of that film where, Bill and Ted and the princesses go to a high school dance. Now,
Yes, we go to the prom, San Dimas prom.
and was that shot in Arizona? Like, were you there in Arizona with the crew for all that filming too?
Yes, we shot it at a school. It was awesome. It was an awesome scene. I wish they had saved it. Nobody knew the gems of saving footage that time during that time. That was such a cool scene because obviously we did go to the San Dimas prom. We were named prom king and queen, both couples. And the coolest thing I think was that the guys wore tuxes, but they cut the pants at the knee and then they wore them with high top sneakers like Converse. And I think that would have been the prom outfit for decades if they had done that. Like if somebody saw that, it would have just been like, that's the style, that's it. So it was really, really sweet. But I also think that it was great. They needed to end the film that they were in the band. And I get that. I just wish that we could have gone to the prom too.
Yeah, one fun thing, I don't know if you know this, but Kenner released a bunch of Bill and Ted action figures, and they released a 2-pack of Bill and Ted in the prom outfits. And it was even in
Oh,
the movie, which is crazy.
you know, that is amazing. I think I've seen them, but I didn't realize that they were in those outfits. Bravo.
Yeah,
Bravo for seeing that because
really, really cool.
it's iconic.
Yeah. Now,
Most triumphant.
I feel like, a lot of people from my generation, especially, you've mentioned that we know you from the 80's films, that you were doing, but you also did a fair amount of television. And I feel like as opposed to today with like prestige television, a lot of veteran actors will say that there was a barrier back then between television and film. And yet here you were, going between the two. Did you feel like there was a limitation put on you, or was there any type of like expectation? Oh, well, she's in TV now, can't come back to film, or
Oh, again, great question, because that is a sign of someone who has seen the transition of the entertainment business. Um, I'll tell you that when I was younger, yes, there was definitely like if you do television, if you do film, you can't do television. Um, but then it was very funny because it was a big cycle. Like people who were in television wanted to be in film. People in film wanted to be in theater. People in theater wanted to be on television. Like it was like, or commercials. Where was the money? It was kind of a funny cycle. But yes, no, originally the business was considered like you weren't supposed to say anything about it. If you did it, keep it under the rug. Like people don't talk about it. I just wanted to work. I just wanted to play all different kinds of characters. I think by the time I came, um, it was easing up a little bit and I could flow back and forth. I was a very fortunate actor, that I didn't become too big, because if you become too big, then you are it. And in order for look, if you're the it girl, there's a time where you're going to not be it because there's another it girl. So for me, and I was always sort of under the radar. I did my work. I was always even surprised that people remembered me, honestly. Like today, even to this day, that's why people may be surprised that I go, what? Like, you know me? But it's true, because the only way you know me is by seeing my work. I didn't have a publicist. I didn't have somebody who was going to put me in the magazines and put me all over the place, which is a way to get notoriety. And now it's very gratifying because all the fans that know me are watching my work, still watching things I do, care. They want to see stuff. And also I meant something to them in my performances. And I think I have a very wide range of what I did. So I've now have a nice wide audience, which is excellent. Totally excellent.
Yeah. It's great, is it one of those films that I feel like has, just because it's not readily available as much these days, is How I Got Into College. I rented that back in
Yes.
the day. I remember seeing that movie and I was like, what? Like this is such a wild film. And so I was just curious, like, because you did two films with Steve Holland, right? So you had some fun experiences there. But what was it about that movie? What do you find unique either about the experience or the movie itself? Because it's pretty wild.
Oh, How I Got Into College was one of my favorite roles because it made me laugh so hard. I mean, okay, nowadays we don't even think about a young girl dating an older guy, not even a blinking. Okay, this is just the world. Um, but then it was hilarious. And it was the idea that I was the same age as the kid who was going to college, and that I wanted him to call me mom. And like also my idea of like, get him out of here, get him to college because I want to have my own life. Like, so just move it. It was the early stages of all the, I don't know, like, I think the reality shows about like, I want to have my own life now with a young guy. Like, just, I don't know. It was just a very funny uh, idea that Savage had. And his sense of humor really struck me. I mean, ever since we did Better Off Dead, I was supposed to be in One Crazy Summer. I shot a scene, but they had to delete it because of time. So I was actually in that movie. Savage has been so good to me. And then I did How I Got Into College, and also Encyclopedia Brown. I did that
Oh,
one as well. Him, excellent. He's just so funny. I mean, who wouldn't want to work with him? He's just so funny, and he's such a delight to work with. Amanda Wiss and I, who has played Beth in the movie in Better Off Dead, we just always are such a big fan. And we actually saw him recently. There was this event in Georgia that we all went to, and we saw Andy Meyer, who produced it, and it was at college, and they put it all out, and it was just, they had the original car there. I mean, so people are still remembering the film, which is a gift. A gift. So, and hopefully we'll tour with Better Off Dead, and then we come and bring my coat and while we say hello to everyone.
and
If you'll still talk to me after seeing this film, you might be afraid to talk to me, okay?
that's the
But I'm
thing,
not.
right?
All
Yeah.
right?
I was going to ask, that's a perfect transition because in your films, you've done a lot of accents. Like you say, you're transforming into these characters. So looking forward now, you say you want a challenge. You say you're always looking for that next thing you haven't done. For you, is there like, whether it's a type of role or a genre, you said sci-fi, is there anything else that for you, you're saying like, I just give me a chance. I'd love to do this.
Well, okay, so we're talking about like sci-fi, Star Wars-esque kind of a film, an action film, and a Western. Those three. I mean, even it's like Encyclopedia Brown was a more Western, but those are the three genres that I haven't really been able to do. And that would be fascinating. Like, I would love that. Actually, the project I'm doing next has a little bit more of a Western kind of a feel. But yeah, I just think it would be really cool. And also, I did this wonderful film called Falling Up, which is a period piece. It took place in the 1950s. So I adore period pieces. I adore them. And I feel like I could play them very well. So that's another thing. A period piece is something, um, I actually, in Amityville Murders, I was took place in the 70s. So I'm really enjoying period pieces as well. So we shall see what happens. I was an English babe, princess, so
Yeah.
did go back in time.
That's awesome. Well, as we close out here, right now, this moment, we're talking horror. So, do you have a favorite horror film or thriller or just something that kind of got under your skin and hasn't left over the years?
Well, I always say the film that got me, I loved was originally was oh, now I forgot, with Angie Dickinson.
Oh, wait, are you
God,
thinking Dress to Kill? Is that
yes, Just to Kill. Thank you.
okay?
Thank you. Great film. I
Yeah.
remember that really hit me. Of course, The Exorcist, classic. I auditioned for The Exorcist, which is a very cool thing. When I was little, Invisible Man. I even saw the new Invisible Man, and I enjoyed that. I really love the films that you can't see something and it could be real. So I mean, it could be right here, the Invisible Man or a ghost. I like. I haven't done. I've always wanted to also play a ghost or a vampire. A vampire would be an awesome film to do. Um, and on the comedy aspect of it, I love What We Do in the Shadows, that film, and also the TV show. I really, really love the TV show. So I'm giving a little promo on those things, but yeah, just I'm into it. Whatever it is, something different. I'm game.
Okay. Well, great. And I do have just one just like kind of bonus question here. I've always wondered of all the characters you have played, because obviously you're inhabiting a character, but is there one that you feel was the most like you, where you just got to say, hey, I'm
Oh,
gonna put myself on screen?
but of course, it's Monique Junon. This is very much like I am. Go after it, go after your dreams, and you can do it. Move it, Lane. Move it. Do something. So that's kind of my personal energy. But that's why it's so interesting to see me in acting, because I can take that and I can put a rein on it, and I can take on other characteristics and emotional places and be that person, be the muse for the whatever. Service the script is really what it is. So, but yes, mostly Monique. So when you see this film, Waking Nightmare, remember, it's if you see me at a convention, it's Monique, not the Waking Nightmare.
Well, that's great. Well,
Oh
this
my
was really
gosh, it's
fun. Yeah,
hilarious.
that's. I think Waking Nightmare definitely proves that, because you're effervescent here in person, and on that screen, you're just like, just
Terrifying.
totally. Yeah,
Yep.
it's nuts. All right, have
You're a sweetheart. You're a doll. I
fun.
love being interviewed by you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.